So for some reason, my YouTube recommendations are full of random RWBY videos, reviews, critics, and law stuff, something like that, ideas, and basically community response to Volume 5. And what I got was that apparently Volume 5 is really bad and the writers are out of touch of the fan base and the show becoming worse, something like that. And if you look at my DeviantArt account, you could see that I used to be a RWBY fan, and I drew lots of strip comics and fan arts of RWBY. I drew lots of shipping and stuff, and I would like to think that I'm one of the better one that how to write gag for Yonkoma, but I don't know. I used to be pretty big, but since I stopped drawing RWBY, I have less and less. I have fewer and fewer watchers or people who visited my DeviantArt account. Understandably, because I reached like thousands of new followers during my RWBY days, and now it's just my DA account is an empty place. So I would like to talk about RWBY and my experience on it. And for starters, I stopped watching RWBY around Volume 3 because I think Volume 2 is bad enough, especially at the latter end of the part and on the ending part. And I think Volume 3 is a huge missed opportunity to make actual good show that does not rely on gimmick. I'm gonna talk about it later, the actual show later, but I want to talk about my experience in RWBY. I used to like Rooster Teeth stuff. I watched some of Red vs. Blue, and even though the later seasons are more action-packed, it's a departure from the older seasons where it is more of a absurdist verbal comedy where people just talk and make fun of each other, and something zany happened. Where in later season it actually has plot and it actually has actions and badass over the top action due to Monty Ohm's animation and choreography. So when it was first announced, I was pretty excited, and they mentioned that it will be something like a slice of life story of about a bunch of students who also hunts monsters, something like that. I was pretty excited about that concept because that is a concept that I really like to see. You know, like, just because it's a slice of life, it does not mean you have to exclude actions and some dark backstory of the world setting altogether. You can. This is something. This concept is something like. There's an anime last year. Was it last year or 2 years ago? I forgot. Called Hinology. It's something like that. It is a slice of life, but it has also some actions. The character transform into this magical. You can say that magical girl or something, and they fight. There are actions, even though they are students. Even though in that setting, in the anime setting, the world is already at peace, and they are just like some kind of reserve, just in case soldier or something like that. What I want to say is that just because it is a slice of life story, I want to see a slice of life story, but it's just not about slice of life, you know. And what RWBY initially promised sounds very appealing to me. A daily story about girls in a combat school, but then they are having fun. There are comedies, talk to each other, and their life experience, school experience, something like that. And then occasionally they are going to hunt monster, and there will be some badass action scene, something like that. That sounds very appealing to me. But and then when the actual show comes out, it just is very lackluster in general. Honestly, when I'm recording this right now, I don't really have script. I don't really have any direction on what I want to talk about. So bear with me here. I'm just gonna talk about random stuff in regards to RWBY. when the first trailer comes out, I was one of the earliest people to do fan arts and do comics on RWBY. Basically, before the show even comes out, I have already done a fair amount of 4-panel comics. You can see, feel free to look at my gallery. I will link it below. And in there, I remember there is some discussion and said that I am the artist that basically invented the white rose ship, basically the ruby and white ship. And looking at it from the future, it's kind of funny how much I miss their personality just from watching the trailers alone and comparing to their actual personality in the show. But I took it as in like back then I used to be into Toho, but my love for Toho kinda fades, and I'm not really excited aside from reading bunch of random doujins. But my passion for Toho was dwindling, and I was looking for something else. And since I used to like Red vs Blue, I think this might be a good series that I can focus it with. If you look at my DeviantArt account and you look way past before RWBY, you can see that I also used to do lots of Toho comics, and I would like to think that I am at least has some competence in writing comedy, and so I use RWBY as a medium for me to try polishing my writing skill, my composition skill in making comedy comic. So like that. And RWBY as a concept is appealing to me because it has Japanese aesthetic, anime aesthetic and style, but the prospect of American style writing, especially from someone that used to do Red vs Blue, which I used to like because of their, how should I say this, their sense of comedy. Their sense of comedy, their comedy style is different from Japanese. That makes sense. That makes sense because different country has different values, and how they project it into their culture, their show, their TV show, something like that, is different, and how they present their jokes and comedy is different. So the prospect of anime style show that utilizes Western writing style. My God, why is it so noisy outside? I hope the microphone does not pick that sound. I hope. So what I would like to see is the best of both worlds. The anime, I'm a bit biased on anime visual, so that's that bias, and I want to have the best of the both world, the anime visual with the best of American writing. But I was just so disappointed because I think it got backward. It combined the worst of both worlds, the tropey character cliche of Japanese anime and the worst of American writing, American humor writing, American Western style of writing dialogues, writing plot, writing character interactions. So during the first volume is decent enough if you ignore any episode, the 2 episodes about John. I hate John as a character. Well, it is very so. There's not many things happens, and I thought that it's the first volume. It especially since that Rooster Teeth is not exactly a typical production studio. I thought that what am I saying? I'm saying that because I know that RWBY gonna comes out every year, 1 volume every year. So I thought one lackluster volume is okay, because the next year I'm gonna get another volume immediately. But volume 2 is also sucks. I can elaborate specifically on why I think it's bad. But what I hate the most is that I think it squanders the concept. It squanders the good concept it could have expanded upon. Like you have, this is just like many of my complaint of many other anime. Like it has good concept, but it fails in execution. It fails in characters. It fails on dialogues and scenes. So it is a little disappointed, because RWBY is the one of a kind of a show, as in 3D CG anime made by Western production. That's like very. What are the things that you can say that fits that description? Like Avatar: The Airbender is a is a cartoon, even though it is mostly animated in various other countries, including Japan and Korea. But what I'm saying is that I was disappointed that a good concept was not executed properly. And talking about concept, in the fan art scenes, I mean, I used to be some kind of leading figure. I would like to think that I was some kind of leading figure, because my comic series used to get a very high views, and people used to post it randomly in Reddits and Tumblrs, even without my permission. But I don't really care. I'm not in it for the views or recognition. I'm just practicing my writing skill. Am I humble bragging? I hope I'm not. I don't sound like I'm humble bragging, but yeah, I'm gonna be honest that I don't really care about views much. And if you see at the comment section, you can see that I barely responded to the comments. It's not because it is partly because that I'm a little lazy, but I don't really bask in the glory, you can say, from people complimenting me. And I hope that, I mean, oh my god, I'm humble bragging. I'm sorry if this sounds like super if I sound if I sound super smug or something. But I get some compliments here and there. That's what I'm saying. But I don't really care. I just want to focus on. I used to want to focus on writing comic. But what I noticed in the fan art scenes, it is very mediocre. I think it is full of people. I want to elaborate upon the concept of the set of the show. The aura, the semblance, the theme, the fairy tale theme, like Snow White, Red Riding Hood, something like that, kan? Something like that. And oh my god, why is it so noisy outside? Okay. What I noticed from the fan artists is that people are more excited, are more interested in the concepts rather than the actual show itself. Like the actual show has some plot, but from someone like me that focuses more on execution of the scenes, the dialogues, I don't care if it's a bad plot, but as long as it has enjoyable scenes, I'm fine with it. Because this is I'm gonna oh my god, I cannot formulate my mind properly. What I noticed is that the fan artist likes the concept. So if you were in DeviantArt during that time, you will see that there are many people who draw original characters, who draw original theme, people who try to imitate Monty's design style in terms of the weapons, the costume designs, and it is also full of alternate universe, shipping, and basically the fan arts are full of arts that is not directly, how should I say, the arts are not directly related to the show itself, something like that. It's more of a derivative. Yes, derivative. And even I myself did many derivative. I did various alternate universe. I did many character reinterpretation. I changed their personality a bit to change to the comedy style I was looking for. In fact, I have a whole series, even though I left it unfinished, called Shirobara Nikki. White is basically means White Rose Diary, where it is a silly series where Ruby and Wise just flirt with each other for I think I did like around 17 or 18 strip comics, and I enjoyed it because I enjoyed making it. But when I made it, I admit that I don't really care about the Ruby and Wise in the original content. That's what I'm saying. Like, people don't really care about the original context, and they want to capitalize on the concept itself. And I don't blame them, because the concept itself is pretty intriguing, and it's fairly promising, and I'm pretty mad on why the writing is pretty subpar and mediocre. Oh my god, I'm gonna stop this a bit. So in regards of the show itself, I think it's just mediocre. I think I hated the plot itself is already bad enough, but the execution of individual scenes, the style of writing, the style of dialogues, when it's not really compelling, it's not really fun to watch. And like, if you ask me back at the time, what's in RWBY worth to watch, I would say just action. The action part is pretty sweet, I guess, but even then, by volume 3, the actions are pretty lackluster. So that's one reason why I dropped the show after volume 3, because the only thing that I think is still is good has become bad. I see no reason to watch it, even though it gets darker. I personally think because it gets more grimdark, it's just become more reason not to watch it. But that's just me. One thing I don't like about the RWBY fandom is that people exaggerate on the quality of the show. Like, people scrutinize too much, people overanalyze everything too much. One of the argument that I really hated is that when people say, "Oh, you have to read the lyrics of their individual songs," I say, "What? Fuck that! Why the song is not an explicit thing, and most of the song are not present in the show itself. So it's a foregone conclusion. If it's not in the show, it does not. I don't have to know the song, the lyrics. If I have to listen to the lyrics to understand the characters more, then the story is doing a terrible job at presenting the character. But as I said previously, it's not even about the plot, but the how the story flows, how the character interact with each other. They have too many characters to juggle, but none of them are compelling enough. None of them were presented with enough, how should I say this? In 3 seasons, I think that there's precisely only one scene I think has good dialogues and good interaction. That is the discussion, the conversation between Wise and her sister in volume 3. I think that's the only time when two characters are talking to each other, it feels pretty good. But other than that, it just it just it has no weight. And I'm not gonna talk about the whole, how should I say this? I really should. Okay. Like when during the volume 3 is airing, I'm like, I told people that it's pretty bad. The choreography in volume 3 is pretty bad. I really hated the tournament out. So the tournament having tournament is very lazy, and especially that how underdeveloped the characters are, making tournaments arc is very out of nowhere and has no weight, has no impact. And like, why is there a tournament suddenly? I know that in the timeline, but why in the timeline in second season they mentioned that there is gonna be a tournament, but why move the time so fast that it's suddenly tournament in volume 3? Why don't the writers develop the characters more, the character story more in the time between volume 2 and the tournament? I feel like the tournament is a very lazy way for them to insert action scenes, battle scenes between the characters without them having actual drama or conflict, and I think that's pretty lazy. And not to mention that overall the choreography of the tournament arc itself is pretty lackluster. And when by the time I stopped watching around the time Penny died, and by that time I just really don't care. I think they try to add this shock value is just more pathetic at time at trying to reel the viewer. I remember people commenting on the video saying, "Oh, how tragic, how heartbreaking," something like that. But here's the thing: what did Penny do in the first two volumes? There's barely enough of her. She is barely developed. She does not have even one single scene that makes me want to like her, that makes me sad if she is dead, including Pyrrha. I think Pyrrha is a bad character. I think John is a bad character. I think who's the only good character in this show? I don't really call it. Is already 3 years and 3 volumes that for some reason they fail to connect, to make me want to connect to any of the characters. I mean, like, I don't have to like the characters, but at least I have something to enjoy from the characters, which is usually done by their interaction with other characters. But no, it's especially that many times the dialogues are full of references, jokes, full of lame comedy, and it just become a nothing burger, you know. I don't really care for any of the characters. Like, I think the tournament arc should be in volume 5 or something. And what I don't like during that time is also on various things in RWBY, like how the writers are totally trying to appease the fans, like using the shipping names for their shipping name for their combined attack, something like that. It is totally trying to make the viewers want to ship the characters instead of trying to present a compelling characters and story through good dialogues, through good presentation of the world building, something like that. And the whole fairness discrimination thing is also very poorly developed, and basically everything is a whole missed opportunity. And I personally really hated on how the fandoms, on some group of the fandom, overanalyze everything. Every single piece of dialogues are overanalyzed and given so much weight that it gives the show meaning. I don't agree, because if you apply the same logic to many anime will be, even though many anime, how simplistic it is, how straightforward it is. If you analyze every dialogues in many anime, as much as some RWBY fandom analyze the dialogues in RWBY, those anime would be infinitely more complex. This is another thing I hate, when people say, oh, you have to understand this and that, you have to analyze this and that, you have to go through this and that. If your show needs over analyzing to be good, it's not good. A show must be good superficially. If it's good superficially, and then it has many depth alongside it being good superficially, then that is a good show. It reminds me of this show is full of complex symbolism, complex visual, something like that. It is practically almost impossible to understand what the writer really meant. But some people defended it, saying it is a good anime just because it is very deep. It is full of symbolism. This character interaction with this imagery symbolize this oppression and stuff, social pressure, something like that. No, if the show itself is hard to enjoy at its very basic level, it is not a good anime if it somehow has this hidden value or hidden meanings. I don't care about that. I want it to be good superficially and then has lots of depth. That's what I want. That's what good for me. You can say that the hidden meaning has its merits, but I think that kind of merit, that kind of depth must complement an already good foundation. Yes. But for RWBY, even if it has all this depth that the fandom somehow theorized and somehow comes out in, somehow thought of, the basic show itself is very lackluster. The only good thing was the action, and even then by volume 3 the action become worse, and from what I saw in other videos, the volume 5 actions are also pretty bad. So what else is there? Wow, I have talked for a long time. Anyways, I think I'm gonna stop here. I know this video is a jumble of a mess. I do not formulate my script of this video. There is no path. My argument is going here and there, and I know that if any of you are watching from this until this point, we'll have lots of this. We'll disagree with lots of things, but anyway, good day.